Angela, thank you so much for doing this. I felt like I immediately wanted to call you Reverend JD, everything, because you're so many people to so many people. But I thought maybe we could start at the very beginning and talk about your childhood. You grew up with a front row seat to the civil rights movement, and I wondered if you could start there with your parents.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here with you. I'm really excited. And actually, thank you for starting with my parents because that is my foundation and my beginning. And as you mentioned, my parents were very active in the civil rights movement. My dad was pastor of a church. He was head of the NAACP for the state of South Carolina. Oh. And while I was cleaning out my parents' attic last year, I found a letter that my dad wrote in 1957 to all of the pastors in the state. And he said, essentially, now is the time to be brave and courageous and stand up for justice and righteousness. And it was just a very moving letter and powerful. And so that's the family lineage that I was born into. I remember
now is the time legacy. It's got to be a
yes.
Yeah. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
And that was before so many landmark cases that opened up the possibility for. I mean, yeah, I'm just running in my head through like the integration of so many colleges or public services.
But you know what? That now is the time theme and being brave and courageous. I think it's prevalent for today and where we find ourselves. Mm-hmm. And my dad worked with Martin Luther King Jr. And if you know about his last book, Dr. King's book, it's From Chaos to Community. Mm-hmm. Where do we go from here? And he talks about this notion of a world house where we are integrated and can no longer Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Christian. We are integrated. We are tied together. And so in that integration and that entanglement, we have a choice to make. Mm. Do we want to stay in chaos or do we want to move into community? Mm. And so that's what I've learned from my parents about being in community, serving community.
If I were going to pick looking at the scope of your life, your commitment to communities in particular is so intense. I mean, I think other people might feel like they're pro-institution in some way where they choose a group to whom they will be of direct service. And you are lucky. You are in it. I wonder when you decided that not community in general, but communities in particular, does that feel like that account of vocation feels exactly like your parents' language in your mind?
It does. So if you had met me when I was 5 years old and asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah.
You know what I said?
What?
I wanted to be president and I wanted to be a nun.
She's celibate. She's cool. She travels the world.
Well, so I am both in a different context. So, yes, I'm an ordained minister.
I love these stuff. I mean, amazing, and I love it. Mine was to be a singing cellist, which I was like, this will be amazing. And then I was like, no one wants to hear that.
Oh, but it's not too late for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I always think about dream big, and we can always live out our dreams. So I am a proponent of that. But, you know, there was this TV show, The Flying Nun with Sally Field.
Yes.
And so my context of women in ministry was that TV show.
Yeah.
My dad was pastor of a church, but the context of being a woman in ministry was that.
That makes so much sense.
So that's a 5-year-old's take on...
Yeah, be like, I want this vocational category and this one combined.
Now, president, I can articulate and understand. And so,
it's still going to happen.
President of United Way Worldwide, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
So what was the first turn in the road then? Was it directly toward law at the time?
So here's what I would say. It's about advocacy. Mm-hmm. And so my vocation is tied to advocacy. Yeah. And as a lawyer and a minister, it's about advocating.
I mean, I guess vocation, to be called to something in particular, is also then to say no to other maybe, you don't want to say lesser, but maybe lesser calls.
So, can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
In the wrestling of who am I? What is my purpose? How do I express all of who I am? And I kept my life in different categories. So there was the Reverend Angela Williams that would preach and minister on the weekends. Then there was the lawyer Angela Williams, general counsel, giving advice to clients Monday through Friday. One day in my law firm, one of the senior partners came to me and said, "How's everything going?" And I just went into this tirade about, you all are giving the cases to other people. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I have a trial experience, and you're giving the cases to the guy down the street that's only argued one motion in federal court. It's just not fair. You're not treating me fairly, on and on.
Yeah.
And so after I expressed myself, he then says to me, "Angela, how many resumes do you have?" And I was like, why is this relevant to the conversation? But anyway, I said, "I have two. Why?" Or bios. And I said, "Two. Why?" He said, "What are they?" I said, "Well, there's my lawyer bio, and then there's my minister bio." And he said, "Oh, so you're an inauthentic person." Oh my gosh, did that push a button? "What do you mean I'm not authentic?"
Yeah.
"I am very authentic." And he said, "If you were really authentic, you would show your whole self everywhere you go and not hide or compartmentalize portions of your life." And then he said, "The reason is, Angela, because people want to work with people they resonate with." And so it's this, yeah, you may be smart, you're good, a good lawyer, but there are tons of really smart, good lawyers. How do I feel in your presence? What are the things that you and I have in common outside of I'm a client, you're my lawyer? And when he said that, I thought, oh, so my spirituality may be important to the person that I'm talking to across the table.
I see. So like the many layers.
Yes.
Because there is such a temptation, I think, especially with maybe our over professionalization, and our specialization starts so early. And then when people pick a path, I think they feel like they can just be kind of too long down one path. Then they forget other hobbies or dreams or friends they had. And then they might feel like overly siloed into a person that can't really show the fullness of who they are.
Yes. And be unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And I think what's tough now, these days, is that people tend to live by sound bites. And they define other people by sound bites.
Yeah.
It's however many minutes that you have where you can do an Instagram live or do a video to post on Instagram, or it's however many words you can put into a tweet. And I think that's really unfortunate, because there's power in the human connection, and we don't have to agree. But let's at least talk to each other and engage and understand each other.
Like across these insanely sharp divides.
Yes.
That are media and probably training and breakdown of democracy has created.
But that's what I love about my organization, because first of all, let's start with the name, United Way. What better name? It's a 135-year-old organization that was founded by a Jewish woman, a rabbi, a Catholic priest, and a Lutheran and a Presbyterian. Pastors, ministers, theologians, right? So they all walk in and say, "There's a need in Denver, and we need to collect the time, talent, treasure of our community and put it in what was called, our former name, a community chest, and then give it out to those in need."
I remember that from Monopoly, actually. They had the
community chest is based off of United Way.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were getting royalties?
Absolutely.
But that's us.
Like this is our common treasury.
Yes.
Which we will then
Yes.
give out in the service of others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we transition at some point from community chest. Some of our local United Way still use that term or that name, but United Way. And so this notion of being in community, and my colleagues live in community. They're neighbors helping neighbors, and they come together in times of need. And then there's this way and this journey that we're all on together to create community resilience, to allow people the opportunity to thrive, to meet people where they are in terms of need and support. So that's what we do.